As much as he's done for me in basketball, a part of me think he's hindered me in my career and what I could have become. But what he's also helped me become. Like, you got to take the good with the bad, man. You know, when I think of who I was offensively as a player and who I became, I think a part of that is due to him. I don't hold that against him. I'm forever grateful that he still put me in a position to be successful and that I could become Draymond Green despite my offensive role on our team. You know, when KD came from 2016 on, I have not had a play in our playbook, not a single play that we run for me in our playbook since 2016. You think that would hinder someone as an offensive player? Of course. So at times I go home and I think about my career and I'm happy as hell of what I've been able to build. But at times, sometimes I sit there and think, what could I really have been if I stayed true to my game and what I really was? But that just wasn't what was in the cards for me. So I don't sit and be like, oh man, like, I fucking hate Steve because of that. No.
Context of this.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's utter ridiculous. And you know what's shocking? Because Draymond has such a basketball, he has such a high IQ. That's a big part of his game is how smart of a basketball player he is. So it bewilders me that he even thinks like this, because it's like, Draymond, them taking a chance on you and them playing you and Steve putting you at the forefront of that offense, making you be the point forward and kind of the, letting you allow you to have that voice and the freedom to have your, whether it's a spasms or when he loses it, or to be the emotional leader of that team. Steve let him be who he was. So to hear he was hindered, especially Draymond's never been an offensive score juggernaut. He's left open 80% of the game. No one guards him. And because he's such a high IQ player, he's been able to take that and be a free screener for Steph, Clay. He's been this enforcer. He does all these things defensively to dominate. I don't know what way he was hindered and why they would ever draw up plays for you to score. You were never a scorer. In fact, the teams would have loved it. If you were shooting, it'd be much better than Steph not, or Clay or Kevin not. It's just ludicrous. I don't even know where he got this from. If Draymond was on another team in the NBA, I don't know what his career would have looked like.
He wouldn't be a Hall of Famer.
No. And that's not a slight to Draymond because he is in the Hall of Fame. So it's like, take the fact that the guy that helped you get there is the guy you're saying hindered you. I don't understand Draymond was a facilitator and a guy that just affects the game in ways, half of which don't even show up on the stat sheet. Draymond is a guy that you would never draw up a play to get a post up because he's not a post up player. He doesn't have post skills to score. And he's not a player you would draw up a play to hit a three or get a shot because he's never been a high shooting percentage 3-point shooter or scorer. So I'm confused on what he wants drawn up for him. Maybe he wants a play drawn up for him to make a play because he can do that. He's one of the best point forwards of all time. But I don't know what he meant by that. It just seems so weird because Steve and him, I feel like Steve's really embraced Dre, the whole experience of Draymond, and let him be him and be, even though he's never been the first option. Think about this. The second option, the third option, the fourth option. When you talk about the leader of the team, he's been the number one option. To allow that and let that be and fester and grow, you have to give Steve credit for that. And it's worked. They got 4 rings out of it. So it's just weird. I don't know. That was a weird comment to hear because Draymond's such a high IQ person.
They hinted at it. The interesting thing about my comments last week about Coach Kerr's article in the New Yorker and what I shared, the interesting thing about it is it's about 3 minutes of me praising my coach, of me saying how I wouldn't be who I am without my coach, of me speaking on the things that my coach have done for me, of me sharing why I and we had the success that we've had. And then there's like maybe 15 seconds where I spoke about hindering my offense. And speaking of Austin Rivers, I saw he said he's bewildered and it's ridiculous of what I said. And I just find it interesting that a guy who was the 10th pick in my draft, I was 35, who's on his second act, I'm still on Act 1, would say such things. He goes, Draymond, it's never been a scorer. Well, Austin, you and I averaged the same amount of points in high school when you were a scorer. So I don't know what would qualify Austin Rivers to speak about scoring when in high school, me and you averaged the same amount of points. And I say high school because that's when you were at your best. That's when Austin Rivers was Austin Rivers in high school. I only want to speak about, Austin at his best because NBA careers, should he really talk about my NBA career? I don't know that that's the case. I'm still with my first team. He was gone from his first team in 2 years. And so I just sometimes you just should not say something, always isn't a time everything isn't something you should speak on. And I don't think that was really one for Austin Rivers to be bewildered about and say it's ridiculous because the guy received the biggest bailout in U.S. history prior to President Trump bailing out the airlines when they needed it. Austin Rivers received the biggest bailout in NBA history, in world history, in U.S. history. Received the biggest bailout in U.S. history when his dad gave him $42 million. And I tip my hat to Doc. I pray that one day, it won't be $42 million then because NBA has gone up so much. But I pray that I can give DJ $200 million or give Deuce $250 million. I pray that I can do that one day. So I tip my hat to Doc and his incredible bailout of his son and putting good money in his pocket, man. I really tip my cap to him. But, if you listen to the whole thing, the whole 3 minutes of what I spoke about, what a competent basketball mind would have heard was, man, this guy who wanted to do this, who thought he was this, changed his game and then still became this because that's what worked best for the team. Never shared those gripes because they didn't matter. And by the way, still don't matter. Because guess what? I don't care. I'm totally fine. My career's been great. So I found it interesting for people who need things to speak on to make it out as if I'm sitting here complaining about my career has been so bad. No, my career has been great. Possibly Hall of Fame worthy. I got nothing to sit and complain about. But if you go listen to the context of what I said all of these great things about the coach that's helped me incredible, an incredibly large amount. Who I said, man, not sure where I'd be if he wasn't my coach. And I love how people just go take the 15 seconds that they want to take and make it a headline. You can talk to any basketball player in the world. They're going to have a gripe about their coach, some gripe. All things can be great. They're going to say one thing negative about the coach. Not negative, but just something that they felt could be better for them. That's every player in the world. You go ask LeBron James about each coach he's played for. I guarantee you he has some gripe about that coach when he played for. That's basketball. That's the sport. That's what we're in. There's going to be a gripe. Every player, you go talk to Steph Curry right now, who has never had a bad, negative thing to say about Steve. And if you talk to him, and obviously in private, I guarantee you he's going to have some gripe because that's every basketball player in the world. If you talk to Coach Kerr, about playing for Phil Jackson, about playing for Coach. He's going to have some gripe. That is basketball. So I'm a little bewildered that I could say all of these great things. And the one thing that I say that was my small gripe, it's like, oh my God, it's world news. Thankful for it.
Come on, Draymond. This is ridiculous. Seriously. Ridiculous. But you know what? I'm going to address it because you crossed the line and you are mad disrespectful for whatever reason. You've been around too long. We both were drafted in the same class. The fact that you don't have the wherewithal to do your due diligence and actually understand I was being highly complimentary of you on the Dan Patrick Show. But it's you, and I shouldn't be surprised. You always act irrationally, emotionally immature, and your anger always puts you in hot water. So here I am having to address a video of you belittling my career. First off, Draymond, we weren't the same players in high school. I don't care about our numbers being similar. I did it at the national level, at the top level. Hence why I got the Naismith Award, and I got pretty much every award you could think of in high school. I was ranked number 1. You were ranked, I don't know. So cut it out. Next. College, you actually were a really good college basketball player, but it's hard to compare because I was only there for 6 months, something you could never do. Talk about I was, one of the featured guys. No, I was the guy. I led my team in scoring. I was first team All-ACC, freshman player of the year, lottery pick. Stop. Next. The NBA, hey, man, you got it, Dre. I mean, listen, I played in the NBA for more than 10 years, more than a decade, but 11 years, but I'm not a Hall of Famer like you. So I'll give you that credit. All right, you got it. But let's peel back that onion and understand why. Easy, Tiger. Okay? You have the delusion, the non-wherewithal, the irony of you saying I'm part of the biggest bailout in NBA history. Draymond, you were the luckiest basketball player I think I've ever seen, especially in modern day history. Let's talk about that. You were drafted to a franchise with the Hall of Fame front office, Bob Myers, Hall of Fame coach, Steve Kerr, the greatest shooter of all time, and perhaps the top 5 player of all time, Steph Curry, Hall of Famer. One of the greatest shooters, top 5 shooter of all time, another Hall of Famer, Klay Thompson. The Swiss Army knife himself, the guy who could do a little bit of everything on the floor, Andre Iguodala, another Hall of Famer. I know, keep up, it's a lot of talent. Not to mention one of the most lethal scorers of all time and arguably a top 10 player of all time, Kevin Durant, the same guy you chased off because of this, your mouth. You talk too much. And that's not even counting the plethora of talent around those guys. The Sean Livingstons, the Barbosas, the Andrew Wiggins, the Jordan Pooles, who you also chased off. Cut it out. Draymond, you're the backpack jump shooter. You're the guy that everyone leaves open. No one guards you. There are hours and hours and hours of film of just you being left wide open. In fact, anybody can just YouTube or Google or watch any Draymond game ever, and he's open all game. There are clips of you getting a rebound and just driving in a straight line and just getting a wide open layup because everyone's fanning out to guard the actual talent on the team. Talking about Steve Kerr hindered your career. Bro, Steve Kerr made your career. How dare you? Coming at me? Are you kidding me? I wish I could give my son $200 million if I was a coach. Yo, the NBA doesn't give coaching jobs to guys who may or may not sucker punch one of the players and staff. You need to fall back, Dre. Let's just be frenemies.
Or when anybody says it's not going to change, he's a first ballot and he deserves that because he put in the work as his role. See, there's a difference, and this is the last thing I'll say. There's a difference between being a star and being a star in your role. Draymond was a star in his role, one of the best at it. He talks too loose and he talks with conceit in his voice when he tries to come at other players as if he's better than them. No. You've achieved more because you were a star in your role in a cast that Steve, the guy that hindered your career, placed you in and helped you and embraced you with a bunch of guys on a very talented team, one of the greatest teams ever assembled, that Warriors team. And that's why he's in the Hall of Fame and he deserves to be it. But when you start talking and how he did with Charles, or he starts talking about me, belittling my stuff, or other players, whoa, Dre. You talk about, you need to play Nas one-on-one. But motherfucker, why don't you play me one-on-one, Draymond? Because you can't do no handoffs in one-on-one. You can't set no pick and roll in one-on-one. So all that extra talk is BS, and that's all my response was calling me the biggest bailout. Yo, bro, have some wherewithal. Get outside yourself. Have some humility. You know what happened, Dre. You know what was good to you. Now, that's it.